Hi everyone, good morning from Montreat Conference Center with the Presbyterian Association of Musicians 2023 Worship and Music Conference, Thirst No More. And you can see behind us a beautiful lake and a waterfall sound. But most important thing is here, we have Callie Abraham, Presbyterian Association of Musicians, Executive Director. Callie, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
And I'm Eric Server, by the way. And I'm here first time attendees, but it is a phenomenal week. You will find my report and my videos soon. So Kelly, first of all, tell us something about PAM. What is PAM and what is the vision behind and why it started? Because why we need PAM actually?
It started back in 1970. The Presbyterian Church U.S. had been hosting this conference for several years and decided they no longer wanted to fund it. And that is where a group of people who had been attending the conference said, we can't let this go, it's a really great thing. And so that was the birth of the Presbyterian Association of Musicians. So I believe this is 53 years we've been hosting these conferences. There have been conferences in other parts of the country as well. And this organization exists to support musicians, but now greater to support our worship leaders in the denomination.
Wonderful. We all know that we need worship leaders who are biblically trained, culturally relevant, and theologically sound, and musically trained also. So you are in line of third or fourth executive director?
Probably fourth if you count our interim. Yeah,
Fourth
director. Yes.
Okay. So prior to that, so Presbyterian Association of Musicians, as you said, conferences. And I see here are various programs running various tracks. There are children track, there are adult choir track, musicians, seminars, and everything kind of comprehensive week.
Right.
What new thing you brought into the PAM?
Oh, well.
What innovation?
I'm a big we person. So
Okay.
I would say the one thing we've really focused on these last several years is just sort of this comprehensive, and you nailed it. So this comprehensive event that we can offer to support all worship leaders, and worship leaders include musicians, liturgists, pastors, artists, but is choir directors, but also the children and adults who are singing in those choirs, who are leading in those instrumental ensembles, our artists who are providing that liturgical art. So it's a place where you can go to see all of it happen, and that everyone can participate and not only receive it, but participate in it and then bring that home to their churches. And so it's this really sort of unique conference with a hands-on approach.
So someone was sharing at a lunch table with me that intercession is a new thing
It is a new thing here.
which I become a part, and I'm honored. Thank you very much for inviting me. So how this idea came of the intercession? What new thing it's
Sure.
bringing into the
Sure.
conference?
So that first focus we've talked about is this more comprehensive worship leadership. We had a task force that met a couple years ago, and out of that task force came several things that you're going to start seeing. One are these intercessions. You know, you've got this faculty that consists of 40 people, but we also have a membership that is 1,400 people large, and these are folks who have great knowledge in their focus areas, and so we're hoping that we've given them an opportunity to bring their expertise to this conference in these intercessions, such as the one you've done. Another thing you'll see this year are the co-service musician. In the past, this conference has one service musician, typically an organ. However, we've seen across the United States and beyond that organs are not the primary instrument in churches anymore. They are for many, but not all. And so we're trying to bring in this little diversity of having two service musicians to sort of play off one another, but to provide sort of, number one, this different approach for those churches who may not have an organ. Two, to provide churches who may have an organ with some diversity in their worship styles. And so that was one of several of the things you're going to see, and we're working on bringing more of these ideas in as we continue to live into this conference.
So talking about diversity, we have seen in the worship services, there was a Korean track you have added in Spanish and along with English.
Yes.
So it seems to me that PAM is becoming more diverse and more multilinguistic and multicultural. How do you think that PAM's vision here in North America, although it's a huge field,
Yes.
In North America itself is a huge area, But how you can see that it's bringing a global diversity into the predominantly white church or the white conference.
Okay. And you've named that, right? It is a white conference, and we the board, this team has been working very hard to. One of our goals was to provide for us to learn and provide diverse worship styles, and I think you're seeing that in the conference this week. The largest population of Presbyterians in the world are in Seoul, Korea. So we've got a lot to learn from one another. And so Pam, while working to be a resource for worship and for music, I think we do a great job. However, you don't know what you don't know. And so we're trying to work with other groups to learn different worship styles, and so that we can present these here so that we can be more welcoming, more affirming, and really be that resource for worship on a daily basis. But until we learn those, you can't be a resource.
Yeah. So learning is reciprocal. As you mentioned, Korea, and there was some Latin Americans, Spanish songs are there, and we are exchanging. So how do you see this is reciprocal from Pam, while we are receiving from Korea, from the Latin world? Is there any way or a planning in the near future where Pam is going to engage with the global body of Presbyterian churches around the world?
Wow. I don't know that at this time. But what I can tell you is we're in some conversations with the 1001 worshiping communities. And last week they brought a group of folks here from probably the southeast, but they were from Ghana. We've got a group here this week from the Korean church in Atlanta. And I think what we want to keep doing is learning from one another. What is it that you are doing in your churches that we need to be doing, say in my church in Lexington, Kentucky? We say we want to be welcoming, we want to grow our church, but if we can't provide that welcoming hospitality through our music, through our worship, to the stranger, then how can we grow our churches? So I'm hoping we can work with the 1001 worshiping communities to create a partnership here in the next couple of years where they are bringing more of their people and we are engaging them in worship so that we can learn from one another.
Wonderful. And my presence as a brown Pakistani Indian subcontinent here is a great hope and a sign that these are happening now. And thank you very much for having me. And because Presbyterian Church has a lots of impact in a Muslim world. Like if I recall, Presbyterian India Mission started together for Egypt and India all together same time.
Yeah.
And so far we are learning that there are lots of Egyptian and Pakistani Presbyterian churches in USA.
Okay.
And this is a good kind of gesture as you bring Ghanaian church, and then the, what other church was? Korean church here. And I would like to encourage Pakistani church, especially in New York, in Philadelphia, I know, in Texas, in Chicago. Join us, come over. Be part of this and bring Punjabi Psalm, Punjabi Psalter. I shared this Psalms and Islam workshop. Thank you very much for having me here. And we are so glad that PAM is extending and the new innovations are coming with the creative ideas and extending their territories not only to the English-speaking world but also to the non-English-speaking world. Kelly, thank you very much for your time and for your
Thanks
insight.
for being here this week. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And we have our camera person here. I would like to invite Mark. Mark is a professional development seminar leader, PAM board. Mark, would you please join here? Kelly, would you hold this one while we are talking, because that will be soon on. Mark, would you please come over?
Yeah.
Here's Mark. So Mark, what do you think about PAM's diversity here as a planning and a professional development?
Oh, I think it's incredibly important because we've been isolated in our perspective for so long. And I think there's a distinct difference between trying to become something that we're not, but also the opportunity better to learn from different perspectives. Not necessarily to become those, but to invite those different perspectives into what we are as a bigger picture, a bigger identity. So what Pam wants to do, and the new initiative, a new initiative of the board, is to go to these places instead of trying to draw everyone into us. Let's go to these places and experience what worship in that style and from that perspective is, which broadens our perspective of who's welcome at the table, because we know that's how Christ invites us all and gathers us all to the table.
So that's important you talk about the worship. That was the main purpose when God redeemed people through Moses and said, I'm sending you let my people go that they may worship me.
Yes.
They serve me. So the ultimate purpose of the redemption and the salvation is worshiping. That we will do continue in Revelation.
Yeah.
Now, in the global contextualization, where global Christianity, especially Western Christianity, is crumbling, and we know that America is now a mission field. Lots of communities, mission is in our backyard right now. And I have realized that the future of global mission is diasporic and doxological. And what do you think? What role BAM can play both in diasporic and doxological?
I love how you frame this. It's all centered around what are we created for? We're created to glorify God forever, to be God's expression here in revelation and response. So as God chooses to be revealed in so many ways, we're to respond to that. And in our response, in our being, we fulfill both those things, right? We praise in everything that we are. We lament, and all these things are worshiped together. It's not singularly focused, but it becomes all that we are called to do, and all that Christ gathers us to glorify God and enjoy God forever.
Well, thank you very much. As Callie says, it's a we thing. It's all
Yes.
a collaboration. It's a team. It's nothing one man show can do. It's a big work, and God is always working in collaboration with human being. It's our participation in Missio Dei through music and worship, and Pam is nailing it. And thank you very much, Callie. Thank you very much, Mark, for doing this, and thank you for your all work you're doing.
Thank you.
God
Thank you
bless
for
you
being
all.
here.
Yeah. Thank you.